resolve that she prepared for.
All right, do we have everybody? Looks like we do. All right, we'll call the Bucksport Town Council meeting to order for Thursday, October 8th, 2020. Roll call, Sue?
Mark Eastman,
Here.
Paul Bissonnette,
Here.
Peter Stewart,
Here?
Jim Morrison,
Yes.
Ed Rankin,
Here.
Kathy Downs,
Here.
Dan Ormsby.
Here.
Thank you.
Item 3 is presentation of Town Council recognition. We have a presentation of Indigenous Peoples Day from our Poet Laureate, Patricia Smith Ranzoni. I believe, Sue, you're going to read that for us?
Yes. Pat prepared this for the council for this evening, and to put it in perspective, if you remember a couple of years ago, those that were on the council, the town was approached by the Penobscots because of participation in a lawsuit between the state and the town withdrew from the lawsuit as a result of the discussion with the Penobscots. And at a meeting subsequent to that, they came and did a presentation of thanks to the council for that. And we've enjoyed a very good relationship with the Penobscots since that time. But the resolve says, Indigenous Peoples Day, whereas the Penobscot Valley, River Valley, and Bay are the ancestral grounds of our neighbors and families of the Penobscot Nation and the Wabanaki people of the Dawn, and whereas this territory has been the homeland of this region's indigenous people since 12,000 years before present, and whereas much of their territory was lost through wars, broken treaties, and questionable acquisitions, and whereas descendants of these indigenous people remain on their original Penobscot River island village become reservation and surrounding lands and waters to this day, preserving and teaching their rich heritage, and whereas many of our families are their wedded generational relations as well as present day and new allies in a mutually pledged devotion to intercultural relationships and environmental restoration and protection. And whereas we have depicted this history on an interpretive panel on the riverfront developed in consultation with Penobscot Nation's Cultural Preservation Department for accuracy and respect, we, the Bucksport Town Council and citizens, pledge to continue to explore and secure honorable relationships and cross-educational opportunities with the Wabanaki people of the Dawn, as witnessed by this resolution in observance of the second State of Maine Indigenous Peoples Day, which is October 12th, but we're doing this presentation on October 8th, 2020.
Thank you,
As
Sue.
always, our Poet Laureate finds a very respectful and poetic way in which to express herself here.
Thank you, Sue. Consider minutes of previous meetings. We don't have any for tonight. Receive and review correspondence. I don't believe we have any. No ordinances to consider introduce. Item 7, discussion item, cemetery committee update. Kathy?
Yes, we had a meeting on Tuesday at 1 o'clock. It was just Sue and myself. The other members were unable to attend. We just basically noted that we're waiting to hear from the new owners at 917 River Road. Both Sue and I believe Mark both have reached out to them. So once we hear from them, we can begin planning a date to go up and start reviewing that site. The other thing that we did review was the Upper Long Pond Road. We're still doing some research on that also, but we are basically concentrating on the 917 at this time. So we have scheduled another meeting for November 10th at 1 o'clock. So we should have more information on the 917 River Road, and the Highway Department is going to proceed once we get notification that we can. So they're all ready to help us. So if anybody has any questions, Sue, do you have anything to add to that?
No, you touched on all of it.
Okay, thank you.
Great. I'll just remind folks that are watching on TV or online that if you have questions or comments during any of the resolves or during the open discussion, you can send an email to Sue or call the town office, and we'll get it online. Next is the baseball field wall committee update. Ed, I believe.
Yep. Tonight was our first meeting, 6 o'clock. What the committee would start it as is to look at long-term goals on repairing the baseball field wall. Councilor Eastman had sent out a packet of information on maybe a suggestion to do something different with the baseball field, maybe relocation and market it from the town's aspect. So we kind of went to the direction of maybe having town manager Lassard get a consultant or engineer to look at the drainage regardless of what becomes of that field. The short-term goal of repairing it and having play baseball there this spring, that's still in effect. That's going to happen no matter what. But one thing we didn't think about during the meeting, Sue, was when we do that consultant or engineering, I think we need to bring in the fact that do we need to do a major drainage issue if it was developed, not a baseball field? I don't know one way or the other, but I think that needs to be part of whatever consultant or engineer you get involved on the two aspects of that. And we do want to encourage every organization, Heart and Soul, Main Street Bucksport, ADAPT Plan, every organization that's spent hundreds of hours over the years of get their involvement on what they think. We'll set up another committee meeting for this baseball project. And we'd like their input. We'd like input from everybody if they have a better idea or any idea of their suggestion on what to do with that field. We want everybody's input here because, you know, more minds involved, the better. But we basically just went ahead with getting consultant engineer the suggestion for that to take place. And then after we get the input from all the organizations and the citizens and everybody involved, we kick it back to the council to have a full discussion with the council on how the council wants to pursue, whether it wants to move the field up into the school grounds and market this field as for property from the town, or if we want to repair it. But that'll be later on. We want to get input from all these organizations and talk to the engineers and go from there.
Thanks. Any questions? So the plan is that probably in the next couple of weeks have another committee meeting and involve anybody that wants to show up to have discussion then.
I think if we do before a council meeting, it would have to be the first meeting in November because I think we have a solar committee the next meeting.
Okay.
We do.
Okay.
But I think that would give time to get the word out there that if you have any input, any better suggestions or anything, that would give people, 3 or 4 weeks to think it through and get information.
And this is a long-term plan. I mean, they're still going to be used for baseball this spring regardless. And then this is looking forward in the future. Okay. Anybody have any other questions or comments? Thanks, Ed. The next item is code enforcement officer update request to pursue court action regarding violations by Travis Kepner at 131 Upper Long Pond Road. Luke?
Started back in December for me. I got a formal complaint from the DEP that he was living in a camper and had no proper septic system. I inspected at the time. He was using 5-gallon buckets and supposedly was taking the gray water to his father's and putting it into his septic system. Middle of winter, I tried to give him some leeway. Told him that couldn't continue. In March, I gave him a 30-day notice saying that this violation had to be repaired. No response, and then the whole COVID thing happened, and I kind of let it go for a while. In May, I thought things were going better because the camper was removed, but a week later, a different camper was brought in. I talked to him about it at the time, and he said, I'm only living there occasionally, more like camping than living, but his dogs are there all the time. Continued to try and work with him, told him, I'm not going to evict you if you take strides to get the property cleaned up, because there's junk vehicles and boats and stuff everywhere, as well as the ongoing issues with the septic. And I told him that we can do some different things. We could either potentially put in an outhouse and a gray water system, if that would save him money as opposed to a full-blown septic. There are options for doing something to get him into compliance. He said he would take those steps, and so I said, okay, we'll work with you. Over the course of the summer, nothing's changed. In fact, it's gotten worse again. So then the smaller camper disappeared, and the original camper came back. And I went out there and tried to speak to him several times and was never able to catch up with him. But, the radio would be blaring, the dogs would be barking, mess everywhere. So I sent him another 30-day notice, and I told him, look, this time there's no leeway. You've got to either remove the camper or bring it into compliance with the code. And he said he was, within 30 days, going to be living with his father and would be out of there and it wouldn't be a problem. But that hasn't happened. He's got a million excuses, and he's got some sad stories, and they're very true probably. But I can't keep looking the other way. That's pretty much it.
Is this the same guy?
For permission to seek action, court action.
Is this the same guy we had a few years ago, Luke? Before you? Different person? Okay.
Any other questions for Luke? Do we need a vote on this, Sue, or just...
He needs authorization to be able to, because it's going to incur legal fees in order to take court action for this. But I will concur with what Luke has said. This property was a problem prior to Luke being hired, and our prior code officer had similar issues in trying to both try to work with because of circumstances, but as he said now, even if he's not living there, there are 3 dogs that are there 24/7, and someone that's not there, even if they're not there all the time, that presents a whole other issue of, the animal side of things and whether or not that's the best way to deal with it. But the DEP complaints and the problem with septic are the big issues here, in addition to the mess. but
Danny, do you have something?
Yep. Luke, when was you might have said it, but I might have missed it. When was the 30-day up?
The last 30-day notice that I sent was on August 26th, so it expired on September 26th. And I have spoke with him since then multiple times, and he just keeps asking for more time, but I can't keep doing that forever.
Chief, have you gone out there for any issues?
We've been out there a few times, and one time that we went out there, we actually had found some feces and stuff near the bridge and near the guardrail and stuff. I can't say it come from that place, but I can't suspect it come from anywhere else. But that's about the only thing we've done out there.
Thanks. Anybody else have any questions, comments? Around the room, I'll just ask if everybody's okay. Ed, are you okay with going forward with this?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Danny?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes. Does this require a resolve or anything that we move this?
no, not at this time, Jim.
Yes. Good. Proceed.
Kathy?
Yes.
And Peter says yes also. Thanks, Luke. Next, we'll move on to agenda items. The first is to approve Resolve 2021-23 to approve the acceptance of a $5,000 grant for additional costs for the November 3rd, 2020 election. I think hopefully everybody saw the note that Jacob sent, and certainly with the with what's going on, we're going to, I believe we're going to incur some other costs too. So this will probably definitely help, won't it?
Absolutely. He applied to this agency, and we would receive $5,000, and there's no match required for this either. So that can help defray some of the additional costs.
How would the council like to proceed?
Make a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Kathy and a second from Paul. Anything further from the council on this? Go around for a vote. Ed?
Approve.
Mark?
Approve.
Paul?
Approve.
Dan?
Approve.
Jim?
Approve.
Kathy?
Approve.
And Peter approves. The next agenda item is to approve Resolve 2021-24 to approve the 2-year electric contract with Constellation New Energy for the town's medium user electric accounts. Again, Sue sent out some information. Go ahead, Sue.
Yes, the town has worked since, I think, since electric deregulation occurred we worked with Maine Power Options to get bids for alternatives to the standard offer for your medium user accounts. And when I came here in 2015, you were under contract, and that expired in 2017, and we did a 3-year contract with Constellation at that time that reduced the prior one by a few cents a kilowatt hour. And this current proposal is not 3 years. The other was 3 years, but the best rate available was for a 2-year term, and the goal was to get below 0.058, and this is 0.0578, and will save the town an estimated a little over $6,000 over the 2 years of the contract over what it is at the moment. And the really good thing about this rate is that it is a fixed rate, and any additional costs or demand fees or other things that get developed over the 2 years won't get tagged on to us, because it's not a rate plus contract, it's a fixed rate. So my recommendation is that you approve. You saw in the resolve, we had several other vendors that made proposals, but Constellation was the best rate.
How would the council like to proceed?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Paul and a second from Dan. Anything else from the council on this? I'll go around the room. Ed?
Approve.
Mark?
Approve.
Paul?
Approve.
Dan?
Approve.
Jim?
Approve.
Kathy?
Approve.
And Peter approves. The next agenda item under is approve resolve 2021-25 to award a contract for the Nason parking lot construction. There was an addendum sent out by Sue that actually had the rates on there. The total that we're going to go with is with Wardwell Construction for $68,000. How would the council like to go?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Ed and a second from Kathy. Any questions or comments from the council? When do we expect that to start, Sue?
The bids that were submitted were fall and spring, and Wardwell's is a fall bid, so I anticipate that will start fairly soon because it's supposed to happen in this year.
I thought that was interesting how some didn't bid on the fall. They were just too busy probably, or yeah. Okay. Any other questions? We'll go around. Ed?
Approve.
Mark?
Approve.
Paul?
Approve.
Dan?
Approve.
Jim?
Approve.
Kathy?
Approve.
And Peter approves. Item 9 is resignations, appointments, assignments, and elections. The first appointment of Jacob Grant as warden for the November 3rd, 2020 election.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion from Kathy, second from Dan. Any questions or comments? Anybody else want to do it? I don't see anybody raising their hand. Ed?
Approve.
Mark?
Approve.
Paul?
Approve.
Dan?
Approve.
Jim?
Approve.
Kathy?
Approve.
And Peter approves. The next item is procedures for the November 3rd, 2020 election. Hopefully everybody had a chance to look at Jacob's write-up that he did. Again, having the extra 5,000 will help. There's a lot of extra precautions that are going to need to be taken, and obviously we want everybody to get out and vote. Sue, when I was in today, what's the number that we've had so far for absentees and early voting?
When ballots became available, the staff, that was last Thursday, staff came in Friday and fulfilled all the requests, and it was over 800 absentees that had been requested that they stuffed and mailed that day. And since that time, this week, we have the voting booths set up in the lobby, distanced like everything else is, but there has been a steady stream of absentee voters, both people returning the ballots that were sent to them that they had requested, but also people coming in to vote here or to pick up additional ones. I don't have the count, the total count, but before this week, it was more than 800 absentees that had been sent out. So, as I think Councillor Downs can say, that's just unheard of this early in an election. So,
well, good. I think everybody can agree that the precautions again that Jacob has drawn up and will have in place will certainly help on election day, and I can attest that the folks at the town office were fairly busy the last couple times I've been in there. So, any other questions or comments on the proposal that Jacob had? Everybody's okay with that, I assume.
Yeah, just a quick question, Mr. Mayor. I was going to ask Chief Gagan if he had any
plans for doing anything differently this election day, just based on, but at this rate, there won't be anybody there. Everybody will have voted prior to, but Chief, anything different that you're in the works, just be in anticipation of increased turnout, again, going back to the point, however, maybe there won't be increased turnout on November 3rd.
Nothing a lot different. I'm gonna meet with Jacob on this. We've spoken once before, and we normally get them going first thing in the morning with the guy coming on shift, and we check on them throughout the day. I'm suspecting that we're gonna need to be there a little bit more throughout the day. And normally speaking, with a presidential election, we do every 4 years, we do our survey for the police department, but that is not gonna happen this year, obviously, because we don't usually have lines for that. And that's just not gonna work. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to skip it until another 4 years. But so we will be around, and I'll speak with Jacob again to see if there's anything extra he needs that day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have anything? Item 10 is approval of quick claims, discharges, and deeds. I don't believe we have anything. Sue, back on the warrant, do you need everybody to sign that?
I need it voted on and I need it signed. So if people could come in on Monday, that would be, well, anyone, I need 4 signatures on that warrant so that I can.
It'll be Tuesday, right, Sue?
What's that?
Tuesday, correct?
Tuesday, excuse me. Yes, Monday's a holiday.
Yeah, I skipped right over that. The warrant for the November 3rd, 2020 election is there. I believe we need to take a vote on that also to approve that warrant.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Kathy approved and Mark seconded. Any questions on that or anything, the warrant? Ed?
Approve.
Mark?
Approve.
Paul?
Approve.
Danny?
Approve.
Jim?
Approve.
Kathy?
Approve.
Peter approves. And Sue, do you need all of our signatures? You just need 4.
I just need 4.
Okay.
I'll be in, Sue.
I can come in.
You.
I can come.
And if you can, at the end of this meeting, I'll run it downstairs if you can wait just a minute.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. 1 down.
All right. Next item is town manager report and department head report. Sue?
I'm pleased to report that I was elected to the Home Link Board of Directors on Wednesday, October 7th, and I attended my first board meeting with them that same morning via Zoom. They have many projects underway to improve services to the homeless and the food insecure in our region, and I look forward to working with them. The town office continues to process a steady stream of absentee ballots for the November 3rd, 2020 election. And further, I want to assure our residents that our staff takes great care to ensure the integrity of the election process. There are many checks and balances, and we are following every one of them. The marina will be closing on October 15th. The docks are being pulled at the end of October, and the walkway bathrooms will be closed at that time. The fishing pier will be pulled at the end of this week or next, and although we have had requests to keep the bathrooms on the waterfront open later in the season, we do not have staff to maintain them daily, and the ones near the marina have no heat and need to be winterized. The ones near the Veterans Memorial were kept open until November 15th last year and were vandalized. We've had graffiti there at the end of this season as well. Trash cans are also removed from the waterfront when the docks come out because of the staff reductions, and because as the weather deteriorates, we have had issues with cans being blown into the water. The diesel fuel tank will be installed at the marina after the beginning of November. This will be a great addition to the facility for the 2021 boating season. There's an update from the Buck Memorial Library. I've posted it on our Facebook page as well. They've spent many hours cleaning, painting, and reorganizing. They've renovated the office and replaced a leaking toilet and water heater. They're doing repairs to the main entryway, which had suffered from water damage. And they have also increased the Wi-Fi signal strength so that it is accessible outside of the building. and in the next several weeks, they will begin the process of barcoding the books, which will allow them to participate in the interlibrary loan program statewide. I have posted explanations of the referendum questions on the town website and Facebook page, and the information will also be in the Enterprise next week. We also have copies of it at the town office for people who are voting absentee and who ask for information about what these referendum questions are. That was a recommendation from, I think, Mayor Stewart some time ago, that we have information available so people knew what the referendum questions related to. And that's it.
Thanks. Any questions? I do want to just call out on the other department head reports. Folks have been doing a lot of work out there. We're going in the right direction. I want to comment on the roads that got paved. How the roads have been built up. It looks really, really good driving around out back. And Chief, I want to commend your folks, both the fire department and the police department. You guys seem like you've had some busy time here as of late with a lot of issues going on. So commend your folks for us doing a good job out there.
We'll do that. Thank you.
Next is public hearings. We have a public hearing for the update to general assistance ordinance. I will open up the public hearing now. Any comments or questions on that? Anybody need any explanation on it? It's pretty straightforward for what we've done for the last couple of years. I assume there's no comments, Sue, from the outside?
No, there are not.
Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion from Kathy and a second from Mark. Go around the room. Ed?
Approve.
Mark?
Approve.
Paul?
Approve.
Dan?
Approve.
Jim?
Approve.
Kathy?
Approve.
And Peter approves. I can't remember, Sue. Did that one require signatures also? I think it does, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. The face page of that one does as well.
Yeah. Item 13 is discussion items not on the agenda for the council or the public. Again, anybody has any questions out there, they can email Sue or call. Does anybody on the council have any questions or comments?
Yeah, Peter, from the Y Advisory Committee meeting, they want to do a trunk or treat, a modified trunk or treat, keeping COVID in mind, but they're looking for a blessing from the town council before they start to promote it.
Do they have any type of plan that anybody could look at, especially the chief, I guess, to start with? And
I mean, Sean was in on that. Do you have more to add, Sean?
Basically, I want to see a plan, Mr. Mayor. I want the council to know up front that the CDC recommendations, this is a high-risk event. I'm not sure why it is a high-risk event. If it's scheduled and put out there the way that they're saying they're going to do it, they're doing it in Ellsworth also, and maybe a few other places. And if it's organized well enough with certain times, it's not going to be a free-for-all, show up at the high school and just dive into the trunks. And there's going to be set up times for them to show up with their children, separate times. All COVID-related issues will be in effect. But I do want to see their plan. But I don't have any objection up front to doing it. I'm not sure how Halloween's going to go this year, and I'd much rather see an organized event than everyone going to everyone's houses and not knowing truthfully what's coming out of the houses. So,
is this set up for Halloween, Mark, on the 31st?
Yeah, the intent that Matt McGinnis was talking about was doing it from 1 to 5 up at the high school. That's what they're working towards. But maybe could we work to just give Sean the authority to approve it? Is that the right approach?
Yeah, I just wanted the council to be aware of it and kind of get the blessing and be on board as to that it's happening in case there is any conflict that comes up. I certainly won't approve it if it's not a well-organized event with all precautions taken.
Is the school involved also? Because they obviously with limitations on space.
Yeah, Jim approved the parking lot at the high school for the event.
And Halloween's Saturday, right? This year? So there
Yeah.
wouldn't be school that day. Right, okay.
Correct.
Is
So-
Rich still on the call?
Rich is still
Yep.
there, yeah.
Yes.
He was in-
I'm here. I'm here.
Hi there. But the thing you sent me, is that something's a competing event with this event?
It sounds like it. So I just got word of an event that Bucksport Bay Business Coalition, along with some Main Street businesses. It's called Nightmare on Main Street. I got word at 4:11 this afternoon, so I apologize. I didn't get a chance to get this out. But basically, the details are as follows. The date and time, October 31st, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Candy will be provided by Bucksport Bay Business Coalition, so nobody will have to pay anything out of pocket. Governor Janet Mills has recommended there shouldn't be any trunk or treating, but I feel this could be handled as if someone was going in to do regular shopping. So this COVID safety precaution should be carried out just as you have been doing all along. And then she's asked for the businesses to let her know if they plan to participate so she can have the appropriate amount of candy. And she's asked them to feel free to decorate their windows so that they look fabulous.
Is there any reason why we can't just do both of these? Because they overlap. Kids can go to normally they'd be spending several hours going from house to house. This gives options that are taking, if we're concerned about kids going house to house, now we're not only giving them an option to go trunk or treating, but we're also giving them an option to go business to business and do the same type of thing. And the times match up pretty well too.
Yeah, the reason why I'm bringing this to your attention is because it was brought to our attention by a business owner who wanted to make sure the town was on board with this as well.
Well, I guess I'm not 100% sure why, if a business wants to do a function, why would we stop a business from doing something? If they have their rules they have to follow, I guess I don't know why.
I think it's because of crowd control. So people are walking everywhere. So there's a list of all the trunk or treat events in the state. Every one of them is a drive-by. There's no one walking anywhere. So I think that's why our people are just trying to be cautious to make sure that our town doesn't get called out, that our town does something different. I agree with you here.
Yeah, I understand that, Rich. I mean, there is no way that if a parent wants to take a kid and go knock on somebody's door, there's no way that we can enforce them not to do that. I think if we give them an option, that's a safe option, has been approved, then that's one thing. But I certainly don't think we could stop, folks from entertaining other folks at their house or at their place of business, even if the rules are set up.
Yeah, I think the business owners just wanted the town's blessing. They did say that they want to know what the town's view was.
From where I stand, I guess I don't want to dictate to the businesses how they run their businesses. I guess that's where I would be at, and obviously I'll listen to anybody else on the council. But
Peter, with the trunk or treat, I just wanted the council to be on board because obviously the council's in charge, number one. Number two, the fire department, police department would obviously be participating in that event. But where it is considered a high-risk event for whatever reason, I wanted the council to be aware of it. That's all for the trunk.
No, and I think that one's a different one, Sean. I think it's it's run through the Y, which we sponsor. I think it is prudent for us to have some input on that just to make sure we understand. But as far as businesses go and private residences, I think we have to tread really lightly on that.
Yeah, great.
I agree. I agree, and I think Councilman Ormsby's point is a good one. In the absence of anything organized, I mean, I think you said it, Mr. Mayor. The council can only. I mean, if nobody's breaking the law, then nobody's breaking the law. That's it. if there's something that's high risk, but they're following the guidelines, then people have the option to decide whether they want to go to that or not. And in the absence of anything organized, there are just going to be kids going out like on a normal Halloween, and that will be up to people to decide whether that's appropriate or not. But anyway, if no one's breaking the law, then I don't see where the council needs to be involved, except for with the Y one, of course. We obviously want to have purview on that. But as far as the business, I certainly appreciate them checking in with us. But I think the mindset of everybody else who said something, that if they're not breaking the law, then it's their business.
I'm in trunk or treat.
What's that, Danny?
I'm in support of the trunk or treat, and then all of it. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, the trunk, I guess it would all have my blessing. I mean, the businesses don't need any blessing, but I think it's all good.
Okay. Does anybody have any consternation or any heartburn about any of this, or?
No.
I think.
I
Go ahead, Sue.
The trunk or treat event that is going to be the town one, that the public safety director is the final arbiter on how that works.
What I would also like to see is a final plan come before the council at our next meeting before Halloween, just so if there's any concerns, I mean, we could obviously, I would hate to, but we could obviously nix it then. But I would trust Sean to be a final arbiter on anything that he sees right or wrong. You okay with that, Sean?
I am, and I'll get the plan, review it, and get it to Sue for the next agenda.
Okay. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
All right. Good. Thank you. Anything else that anybody wants to talk about or anything? Or
I've just had I've had several people ask if there's any way the town could put on their website or in the enterprise just a very simple and basic explanation of the ranked choice voting, because we still have a lot of people confused about that. Some people think if they just vote for their candidate and don't do the rest of it, that their ballot's going to be thrown out. They're very confused.
The only thing I would ask Sue is if we could make sure we use the language from the Secretary of State and not impose any language that has Town of Bucksport on it, so that way we're not confusing anybody one way or the other. But that's a good point, Ed. The information is there, and if we can make it easier for folks to see with a link or something, then I think it's certainly doable.
And I'm kind of thinking that maybe if we put something in the enterprise, because a lot of people that have mentioned it to me don't go on the internet.
Sure. Anything else, anybody? Sue, the only question I had is, coming up pretty quick on the holiday seasons and stuff, how much funds do we have left, or have we expired all of our funding that we had allocated earlier in the year?
Which funding are we?
The Hannaford cards and things like that we had passed out.
We have. I can get you a final total, but we have Hannaford and Tozier gift cards on hand that were not distributed because we had to buy them in bulk in order to get a better price. And so we have, I'll get you the numbers. I don't have it in my head, but we do have that, plus the town did not expend the entire funding that it had identified through Pay It Forward, nor all of the Silver Nails funding either. So
I would just like to maybe put on the next council meeting or maybe the one in November, if we could have a discussion of how we want to maybe use some of those funds, especially with holidays and things coming up. Mark?
Yeah, Peter, speaking of holidays, where are we at with fundraising for Christmas decorations? I know that was dicey last year. Is that all set for trees and everything?
Richard?
I've got to reschedule another meeting with Chris Brindle. We were supposed to meet Monday. Something came up. So we will get together, but we're planning on doing some holiday commercials because we didn't do any commercials this summer with the pandemic to try to help bring business in to the businesses. And it's going to work with the holidays if the town is decorated. If the town's not decorated for the holidays, it's going to be really hard to do a holiday commercial. So my plan is to get with Christopher Monday or Tuesday.
Anybody else have anything? All right. Designation of committee assignments and scheduling committee meetings. So before the next council meeting, we have a solar committee.
6 o'clock, yes.
Okay. And Ed, did you want to schedule another ball field committee meeting before maybe the first one in November, you said?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And there
And we'll
is
make sure that will give us enough time, I think, like you mentioned, to get all interested parties to be able to attend something like that. So,
yep,
it will start the process for us.
And there is Economic Development Committee meeting on the 19th.
The 19th. What time is that at, Mark?
6, Rich? 6.
6.
Yeah.
Okay. And that will be by Zoom also, correct?
Google Meets.
Okay. Anything else? Last item, I'll take a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Good night.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
You
Night all.